Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is the 4th of July, so US markets are closed today, so it will be a fairly quiet day. And it was also a half day yesterday, so we'll have to wait until tomorrow, Friday, for some market action. But we did get some action last night in US. We can see here Nvidia pushed higher, and the rest of the most of the semiconductors followed. So this correction seems to be over. Of course, the top and reversal pattern in the form of bearish engulfing has not yet been cancelled. It needs to take it out by moving above, close above 140, spot 7.6. But I think we will see that scenario play out here the next within the next week or so. There's no divergence on the RSI. RSI is still in a positive sentiment, so I think we'll see it pushing higher in the coming weeks and towards 150. However, if it does break below and close below 118, well, then the correction scenario is still back in play, but I don't expect that. But let's see what will happen. If we just very quickly looking at the semiconductor index, here is the ETF also pushing higher. It did hold on to the support at 242.5. It tested a couple of times, but I think we'll push higher here in the coming weeks. S&P 500 was also lifted by that and a few other things, Apple and so on. Tesla was also very strong again yesterday, and we are pushing higher towards 5,600, I believe, here in the coming weeks. There's a little bit divergence here on the RSI, but the jury is still out since the uptrend is still not is still in motion. Nasdaq, of course, also pushed higher. As you can see, divergence building up. This RSI is not really following with it, but we reached 138.2 projection at 20,170, and I think we will push towards 20,500 here in the coming days. In the European market, some positive winds seems to be blowing in here. We closed above 49.49 on the EUROSTOXX 50 yesterday, testing the 55 moving average, a close above 5,000. Well, then I expect that I will say we are in a bullish trend, and RSI is likely to close above 60. That will be key for further upside potential, but there is some strong overhead resistance here around the 5,100 level, as you can see. DAX also pushing higher. 18,500 is the key level. I wanted to close it back above the cloud, and I would like to see RSI closing back above 60 for DAX to be considered in bullish trend. But you can see it actually built a slight uptrend here, however fragile it is, but the 100 moving average, yeah, it actually gave quite a bit of support to it. We have the AX Amsterdam index also pushing higher this morning, primarily due to ASML, Semiconductors, and maybe ASM. That is fairly positive today. We stayed above 918, so I think we'll see the AX pushing higher. It got back above 60 threshold despite having divergence. I think we will see it pushing higher in coming days. The CAC 40 that for a third time managed to stay above 74.64, 77.25 is the key resistance. A close above that, well, then there's potential up to 7,900. And the Swiss market, well, still range bound despite testing it here a couple of days ago. We're still range bound between 11,955 and 12,182. That is the range to break, and we still have this top reversal pattern in place, but it could be cancelled. Moving on to the FX market and euro dollar, that had a strong day yesterday. Or weak dollar yesterday. testing that was considered the minor resistance at 108.16 and 108.15 here, still below the cloud. They didn't close below, and RSI is still in a negative sentiment, didn't close above 60. If we can get it back above to close above that level here, well, then I think we will see euro dollar pushing higher, but there's also some resistance at 108.15. But that will be key here the next couple of days, or will it actually slide back? What we can see is that the moving averages of 100, 200 and 55, they're slightly rising, giving a little bit of support, and again 106.65 is the key support. Euro sterling rejected at 85, seems to be resuming downtrend. If we get the RSI back below 40, well, then it will definitely most definitely resume downtrend. It is currently below its short-term rising trend line, so it seems like we will see a euro sterling sliding lower in coming days. And I think it's today, there's election day over there, so but it seems to be a given with a landslide victory to Labour. Cable went through a resistance at 127 and 127.40. RSI is in a positive sentiment, but it will be further confirmed if it moves back about 60, with the potential up to 128.50, maybe even 129. But it could struggle a little bit. However, as you can see, we have the 55 moving average crossing now over the 100 moving average, or very close to, and we also have the 200 pointing higher. So I think we'll see cable pushing higher in coming days and weeks. The yen pair seems very stretched at the moment. The uptrend has been very strong. This rising trend line here, it's very tight, very steep, so it's not that strong at all. I think as we can see here now, it's being broken. I think we will see a correction coming in here over the next couple of days, but the uptrend, it will be intact until we break below a 158.65 level. At least short term, and we could push higher after a correction, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a correction. It's really hard when you have these, when it's just ticking higher and higher and higher without many corrections. Where should you put your stop? So I would be very cautious being long at the moment. I will also be very cautious at just going short now, because you can easily be stopped out. Well, then at least you should use the peak price as your stop and say, okay, if it takes that, then we are continuing. Euro yen pushing higher, also almost reached 138.2 projection at 174.60, but reached 200% of this projection from that correction there. So I also think we will have a little bit of a correction at the RSI being rejected at previous peak just below that, and I think we will see also a correction lower. How big it will be, it's of course I need a top and reversal in place to kind of calculate that, but 172 around that level is not unlikely. Also yen also quite stretched, despite having a great day yesterday. It could still push up to the 176.4 projection, just below 109, and there's no divergence on the Aussie yen, so I think a correction is merely just a correction before pushing towards the 110 level. As we talked about for quite some time now, there's no strong resistance until around 214 on sterling yen. However, it is also quite stretched, but there's no divergence on the RSI, so I think we'll get there eventually, but it will take a little bit of time. We need a bit of a correction to get more energy higher, and this lower rising trend line here could be tested. The Aussie dollar is finally on the move and seems to taking out the 67.15 minor resistance spike above yesterday. If it can really break it, well, then we are looking at levels around 68.70. There's no resistance until then, and we are in a positive sentiment, no divergence, so we should see a move towards that level. The dollar Canada is still in this big range here, so I'd skip that and we can talk about that tomorrow. And we have Euro Swiss also pushing higher, almost reaching 61.8, retracement at 97.63. could have a little bit of setback. We currently have the RSI around the 60 threshold. That would be key. Will it close back above, or will it be rejected here during the day today? So that would be, if it does close above, well, then there's further upside potential for Euro Swiss. Otherwise, we'll have a little bit of correction lower, and let me just remove that. Then we have a little bit of correction lower before the next push higher. Dollar Swiss above 98.90 resistance, but it's being rejected here at the 55 moving average and the cloud area and the 60 threshold on the RSI. So that's really struggling a little bit. It really needs to get back above the cloud and up in the region around 91 for really establishing an uptrend. I mean, we are in a slight but fragile uptrend at the moment. We could see a little bit of a setback. Finally, on the dollar index, well, it didn't get up to the 106.30 level, and now we are back below the 55 moving average, and I think we could slide lower. We have some support at 104.26 and the key support 103.68. On gold, and I sent out an analysis yesterday on precious metals and some industrial metals. Gold has broken above and closed above its upper falling trend line, but it needs to close above the minor resistance here, or resistance here at 23.69. Let me just give it a little bit of air right there. So that is the key level to look out for. If it takes out that, I think we will also have the RSI back above 60 threshold. It's still in a positive sentiment, and it will further confirm upside potential if we take out if it closes above 60, and then we could see a push towards 24.15, 24.50, maybe even higher, and maybe new all-time highs. Silver, that started the show yesterday, also above its upper falling trend line. RSI in a positive sentiment, no divergence, and it has broken above its falling trend line, and further confirmation for uptrend in silver will be if it closes back above 60 threshold, which I think it will do. 30 spot 85 is the resistance to take out, just below the 61.8 retracement at 31. If it slides back in below the falling trend line, that also counts for gold. Well, then this downtrend could resume, but still strong support around 28.65. Platinum, still it's the 1015 key resistance, and I think it will be tested here later today. It needs to close above for upside potential. Copper, that also turned around and also mentioned in my report yesterday, or analysis yesterday, 459, a close above that. Well, then we are looking at 487, 488 again. On the energy side, not really much to say. We have WTI, I think will set back a little bit, but we are in a bullish trend, but it needs to take out 64 for further upside potential. Brent crude oil is lacking WTI quite a bit, but we are above the cloud. We are in positive sentiment, so it could push higher, but it is not that convincing very strong. So resistance here up around 89.30 level. And finally, US Treasury yields that got rejected at 448 resistance, now just moving around the 100 and the 200 moving areas, and I think we will see that range between 430, 445 here in the coming days. We're still in a negative sentiment on the RSI, so we could slide lower. That's all for today. Have a nice day, and if there are any Americans listening, happy 4th of July.